Director of the Department of Public Transportation, officers from the Department of Transportation, Department of Public Transportation, and also members of the media here this morning. Within the government's economic recovery plan, we committed to ensuring sustainable transportation infrastructure that is safe for our environment. Additionally, in the economic recovery plan, as well as in our 2020 election platform, we committed to introducing electronic charging infrastructure to Bermuda, beginning with the installation of an electric bus charging facility at the Department of Public Transportation's Fort Langton, Devonshire facility to support the operation of new electric buses. I am delighted that with the arrival of these 30 new electric buses, we have taken a further step towards cleaner and more environmentally friendly transportation for Bermuda, with temporary charging stations in place throughout the island as the work to complete the long-term charging at Fort Langton progresses. These cleaner and quieter additions to our fleet will provide easier access with lower flooring and life cycle costs to maintain them 50% lower than traditional buses. Ultimately, the buses will improve the passenger experience for locals, visitors, and will provide a safer work environment for the Department of Public Transportation staff thanks to improved air quality. I thank the dedication and hard work of the Minister of Transport, the team at the Ministry of Transport, the Director of the Department of Public Transportation, Mr. Roger Todd, and the entire management team and staff for their hard work in delivering this important initiative for the country. And I certainly must thank our union partners with the Bermuda Industrial Union Bus Workers Division who have worked alongside us during this task. It is not easy when we have change, but change is necessary for our country to advance. I look forward to the arrival of further electric buses in the coming weeks and for a cleaner and more sustainable transport for Bermuda now and in the future. And now I will introduce the Minister of Transport, who will, or I'll yield the floor to the Minister of Transport, who will speak about the buses in depth. Minister?
Thank you. Thank you, Premier. Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Today marks a huge step forward to steering Bermuda towards a cleaner and more resilient future. The electrification of the public bus fleet represents a transformational change that will go a long way in developing an environmentally friendly and sustainable future for Bermuda. The new buses are appropriately sized for our roads with low floors and kneeling suspension for ease of access. We know that these buses will significantly reduce the cost by 50% compared to our existing diesel fleet. In addition, the electric buses will improve air quality and even eliminate roadside emissions associated with diesel buses. With this delivery, Bermuda is now one of the leaders in the Caribbean transition to electric public transportation. Let me repeat that again. We are now a leader in our geographical region, not just in the island, but in the geographical region in electrification of public transportation. The additional 20 buses will arrive in 2 shipments, one on the 28th of March and the other on the 4th of April. Over the coming weeks, the buses will be licensed and outfitted with equipment in preparation for service. Representatives from the manufacturer Golden Dragon Bus Company will be on island for 3 months from March through May to support the commissioning of the buses and staff training. The new buses will enter into service between March and April of this year. I take this opportunity to acknowledge previous transport ministers, Robin, De Silva, and Tyrrell, who initiated and progressed this initiative. I would also like to thank the Director of the Department of Public Transportation, Mr. Roger Todd, and the entire management and staff. Special thanks to Electric Bus Project Team, including Adrian Dill from the Department of Energy and Chris Bully from the Department of Planning. The ministry also extends our thanks to E.J. Clark McCook and the team at Rocky Mountain Institute that served as technical advisors, analysts, and research partners throughout this 3-year development project of our bus electrification. In the coming months, we will hold additional events and opportunities to celebrate going greener through the electrification of our public bus service. I invite the media to join the DPT director to get a first-hand look at these buses, and we'll turn it over to the director. Okay. Gary?
Just want to check the status of these buses. Are they all brand new, or is there any refurbishment? If so, how old are they, and what's the expected shelf life of these vehicles?
Okay, these are brand new, straight off the factory floor. That is one of the advantages to this. This is a production bus. The factory makes them just as they would any regular car, and these are brand new, no refurbishment.
And the expected shelf life?
I believe it is 12 years.
12 years. To check, is the Frog Lane and Palmetto Road Belco trenching for the next 2.5 months, is that to provide some of the powering infrastructure?
I think that is a question better directed to the director of DPT.
Please.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Happy to take any technical questions. Yes, that is part of it. The trench is a multi-utility trench that we are leveraging that existing project, to deliver new electricity supplies for the electric buses to Fort Langton.
Okay, so that's going through to the depot at Fort Langton.
That trench will go from the National Stadium Frog Lane substation through to Barker's Hill, is my understanding. We will take off at the Palmetto Road entrance.
Now, to get a picture of what this is, the overall project, I understand it costs about $3.5 million for these buses, about $320,000 for transport of and the charging stations. With the additional cost, the infrastructure changes, what kind of budget are you looking at for this entire project once all the electricity is in place, the solar arrays, etc.? What are you looking at for a full cost?
Okay, so you mentioned there are different elements. The solar PV project was a project that was championed by the Department of Energy and the Public Works Department separately. We took the opportunity with the timing, the coincidence of timing between the solar array on the garage and the delivery of the electric buses, to make sure that the buses benefited, the government benefited the most from that electricity generated. So that's a separate project that I would invite Public Works to speak to, but it will be integrated to the bus charging infrastructure. Gary?
This endeavor happen.
Yeah, I understand, but I can't speak to the cost of the solar array system. I think that's already been published. I just don't have that information to my disposal. What I can say is that the buses that we were purchasing before were $350,000. These buses are $132,000 landed. Obviously, there's a duty component. X works from the factory. The other buses were $250,000 versus $132,000. So we're realizing the opportunity through that savings to replenish the bus fleet a lot quicker than we would have otherwise been able to do with the traditional procurement. So you can extrapolate that number into over 90 buses is our target to purchase, and you'll have the total value associated with that. In addition to that, the charging infrastructure is approximately $3 million build out, but that's a one-time infrastructure investment, as you can appreciate. So if you add those numbers together, you'll get a sense for the total cost of the project.
And my final question would be, until this entire system is either not powered by or minimally powered by Belco, you could say there's somewhat limitation to the environmental benefit. With the solar array, is there ever a chance this system can be truly off the grid?
Yeah. So I just want to reiterate that the equivalent emissions reduction, even when you take into account our current plant mix of converting these first 30 buses to electric, is the equivalent of removing 1,500 cars off of our roads. So these buses do not generate any emissions when they're idling. They don't generate any emissions when they're stationary. So with the diesel buses, you appreciate that they're constantly producing emissions, the engines are constantly running, and that is at roadside level where it impacts public health. So we have transferred the associated emissions to the power plant, where it is a lot more efficient to generate and manage the emissions and disperse the emissions out of the local community. So absolutely the local air quality is improved and the overall emissions are significantly reduced. Okay, so as we mentioned, these buses have been appropriately sized. So instead of the bigger 38-seater bus, this is a 28-seater bus with an additional 10 standing. Okay, so the current, so you have low entrance and then you have low floor. And some of you may see our existing buses that have the mid door. Those are true low floor with accessibility. That is the next iteration. Unfortunately, that was not available for this initial procurement. However, these buses still have a low entrance. They only have one step inside the bus, and the spacing is quite generous. There's also a kneeling feature on the suspension that allows for ease of access. But absolutely, our future forward objective is to transition to a fully accessible public bus fleet. Yeah, I think everybody's excited. You know, I passed a 1997 bus that was still running yesterday, and so the idea that this is real now and that we are transitioning and that we have new equipment for passengers and operators to enjoy is really quite exciting.
Just had a couple of questions, sir. In terms of, we've heard talk of getting GPS on buses and cashless payment. Does this new equipment put us any closer to being able to have those kind of bells and whistles on the new buses?
The digital fare media is a separate project that is in very advanced stages, and it would be subject to budget approvals and timings, but we are very advanced in the digital fare media project. That will be applied to all the buses, irrespective of their age.
Is there any word on GPS? There was some talk of having it on buses quite some time back. But yeah, just curious.
That component with the passenger app and real-time passenger information is incorporated into the digital fare media solution.
Last question I had. We heard sometimes with the older buses that there was some issues with maneuvering into some of our roads. Are these going to be more able at getting around?
Absolutely. The older buses, the chassis had grown and it was a very bespoke product for Bermuda. And so we ended up eventually with a 9.5 meter bus. This is just over 8 meter bus. So the maneuverability of this bus will be a lot better for Bermuda's roads. It's also an inch narrower. It's very challenging when you have 2+2 seating to get much narrower than that, because especially when you want to consider things like strollers and wheelchair accessibility. So we have reduced the size and we feel it's a more appropriate size for our roads.
Hi, question over here. I don't know if this should go to the minister as well, but how would this interrupt the bus routes in Bermuda at all? Would it be more routes, less stops?
This doesn't, the change of this bus doesn't influence the schedule or the routes. That's a separate exercise, but what the introduction of these 30 buses means is that we expect a significant reduction, if not an elimination, of the cancellations that we're experiencing daily.
And when it comes to the new arrival of all these buses, do you guys have enough bus drivers? Have people gotten more jobs because of this? Like, it's more job opportunities?
So in parallel with this, we are aggressively recruiting bus operators. You may take note of the drivers under instruction that we're seeing on and about the roads, and we are onboarding at a very aggressive pace for the bus operators.
The question is coming in on my page. Will older buses be decommissioned?
Yes, so there are some buses that we've been keeping alive out of necessity, but it's not a good use of time and money. So now that we have new fleet, those buses that it makes sense to retire now, we will be retiring. And some buses that choose to retire themselves, we won't be investing in major repairs.
My final question, how is this transition for engineers? Is there a different type of like mechanism you get new engineers to help with electronic, or is it the same?
Yeah, so as we mentioned, the Golden Dragon Bus Company will have 2 engineers here for 3 months. That's part of our multi-pronged training approach. We also have online self-study training for electric vehicle drive systems, and we also have facilitated training, IMI training through colleges in the UK and in Bermuda, with facilitators delivering training to our technicians. In addition to that, we have the operator training. So the arrival of these buses marks the beginning of a lot of work in terms of operationalizing the buses for both our maintenance staff as well as our operations staff.
Good question. Operators and health and safety, are these buses equipped with CC cameras inside the buses?
Yes, there are a lot of mod comms associated with these buses. They are fully fitted with the CCTV cameras, but also for the driver's aid, there are reversing cameras. You'll notice just above the door, the near side camera, because of our narrow roads, we removed the physical window and that the physical mirror, and we've actually installed an electronic near side mirror with real-time displays. So there are quite a few features on the bus, including USB chargers at every seat for passengers to take advantage of that.
So one last question over here, if I may. The capacity of the buses, will they drop down to 17 now, considering the regulations?
So the capacity of the buses as it relates to public health guidance is a conversation that we have with the Department of Health, and we take guidance from the Ministry of Health with respect to wherever we are in COVID. So I won't speak to that, but the minister and others may choose to speak to that.
When can we expect to see these buses on the road?
Okay, there's about a 4-week process before we will see the initial buses hitting the road. You may see 1 or 2 of them out there as we commission and trial the buses, and we go through the paces of training our staff. And when the other buses arrive, there will be a much shorter lead time between when they arrive and when they get on the road. Thank you, Minister.
And I would just encourage everybody, and I'll just encourage everybody to take your cameras, and Director Todd will take you up onto the bus and for a tour. Thank you very much.
Can we get everybody up for a group picture in front of the bus?